Hi everyone and welcome back. I've got a couple Master Lock 575s. This one on the left is representative of the current pinning. What you'll find in here is very different than what you'll find in here. This one I got in a lot of new old stock. Here's one in the package. And it's dated 1999. So I'm thinking that it was probably from around the early 2000s that this lock was made. And this one was with it. This one represents the old pinning that I think the orange ranking is based on. And it's a very different lock. This one has a dead core and no spring on the shackle. See? No spring on the core, no spring on the shackle, no shackle pop. And this one, however, has a sprung core and a sprung shackle. So they're both 575s, but they pick very differently. This one has standards, this one has spools in it. So let's pick them both and then we'll gut them both. I've drilled out the retaining pins and I've taken these apart and made it so that they're guttable. If you take a look at the keyways, they're slightly different too. The one on the left is a tiny bit wider. My 1.2 mil TOK fits right in there. But on this older one, it's a pretty tight squeeze. Like, it fits, but it's tight. Both keys fit in either lock. So the keyway hasn't really changed all that much. Both keys fit. That's this one. So anyway, enough yapping. Let's get to picking and see what's inside them. I'm picking with a multi-pick F07 hook. There's the profile for anyone wondering. One is binding. That's springy. 2 is binding. Springy. 3 is springy. 4 is springy. So is 5. One is springy. Oh, 2 still binding. There we go. It's springy. 3 is binding. 4 is springy. 5 is binding. There we go. And that one's open. Let's set that aside. And we'll go for this one now. Is that the right one? Oh, that's the 1 mil. There. And that one fits so snugly, the tensioner stays in all by itself. Now it is a sprung core, so I have to give it a little bit of pressure just to overcome that spring. Same pick. 1 is springy. 2 is binding. 3 is springy. 4 was binding. 5 is springy. 1 is springy. 2 is binding. 3 springy. 4 was binding a little. and 5 is springy. 1 is binding. It's springy. 2 is binding. 3 is springy. 4 was binding a bit. 5 was binding a bit. 4, 3 springy. 2 was springy. 1 is binding. It's springy now. 2 springy. 3 springy. 4 springy. 5 is springy. Oh, 5 was binding. Okay. 4 was binding. 3 is springy. 2 and 1. Springy. Springy, 2 springy, 3 springy, 4 springy, 5 was binding, dropped into a false set. 4 is binding. Getting some counter rotation. Got it. 5 dropped. Counter rotation. Got that. 3 is binding. Counter rotation. Got it. 4, 5 are all up. 2 is springy. 1 is springy. Three is springy. 4 was binding. Fell into a false set. 5 is springy. What is holding us up? I think it's 2. Counter rotation. Heard some pins drop. Yeah. 3 dropped. It's binding. Counter rotation. It's springy. I think 2 dropped. Yeah, counter rotation. Got that. 3 is springy. 4 dropped and is binding. Springy. 5 is springy. Feels like 1 is springy. 2 was binding. 3 was binding. 4 was binding. Counter rotation, got it. 5 dropped. Got it. 4, 3. Two. 1 is springy, 2 is springy, 3 is springy, 4 dropped, 5 dropped. Back to 1, springy, 2 is springy, 3 is springy, 4 is springy, 5 is springy. Oh, there goes 3, gave us a little bit more. No, that was 4, sorry, here's 3. Springy. 4 dropped again. 5 dropped. One is springy. Two is springy. 3 springy, 4 springy, 5 is springy. I think I overset something. I'm gonna ease off tension. There we go. 1 is springy, 2, 3. 4. False set. Five is binding. Four is binding. There's 4, 5. Three is binding. Four was binding. I think 3 is good. What's 2 up to? 2 is binding. Let's see if I can get 2 without dropping everything else. There we go, finally. And that's open. Well, that was a battle. So that's probably the longest that it's taken me to pick this. Spools. And I'm rusty at picking in hand too. I really should do more of it. Anyway, let's get these two gutted, see what's inside them. We'll start with this guy. I pulled the retaining pin, put a grub screw in. There we go. And I'll drop out the guts too, the plugs. So we've got a couple bearings. Here's the actuator. So you can see there's 2 scoops on this of differing depths. So this one that's facing up, the ball bearing would fit inside that and push against the shackle so that the shackle can open, but it won't come all the way out because it gets jammed up in that little recess there. And there's a flat on the shackle. And then the actuator locks in with a couple little prongs on the back of the plug. And that's what does the turning. Now, I'm gonna lock this back up. And there's a little pin here that is accessible from inside the keyway, and you can push that pin out. That pin locks the plug in place. Here we go. So there's that pin. It's got a little stepped end that fits into the plug. And now, there's my key. Now we want to bring it, now if you turned it clockwise to gut it, what happens is there's a slot for that pin to fit in. If you pull that plug out, driver 5 will drop down into that slot. Then you're in trouble. So you want to turn it counterclockwise and you'll be fine. Follower. There we go. Let's put that there. There you can see that slot for the retaining pin and the 5 key pins. One, two is a shorty. They're all standards. 3, 4, and 5. Let's see the input. Oh, I haven't even had the light on this whole time. That's not plugged in. Hold on a sec. Oh, I'll get this. I'll get my act together eventually. That's better. Okay. There you can see. No milling or anything. There's the slot. There's no other recesses in the plug. Put that there. Put that guy there. Key pins are standard. Nothing fancy about them. And the drivers. Standard in 1, standard in 2, standard in 3, 4, and 5. The springs are all uniform, so I'll just dump them out. And you can see inside. There's not much going on in the Bible. Come here. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna get these out of here because they're gonna roll off. I'm gonna go in for a close-up. Alright, now let's gut this one. Again, I pulled the pin and added a grub. And there's the plug. Almost the same sort of concept, except where this one has a separate spot for the retaining pin. The retaining pin in the old one was centered above the retaining pin for the plug. And but this one is very similar. You can access the plug retaining pin from inside the keyway. So let's lock that up and push that pin out. I hope I can get it out. I hope I didn't push it in too firmly last time. She doesn't want to come out. Oh, I remember what I did. Yes, yes. Okay. I'm gonna put this here. Move this out of the way for a moment. And use this to whack that pin out. Is it coming? No, it's not. Why not? It did before. I think I pushed it in too hard. Yeah, that's not working. What did I use? What did I use? Might have been this. And something with a little more heft behind it. There it goes. What was I using before? Here we go. I think that'll work. Am I still in frame? Sort of. Is it coming? There we go. We got that out. Split that off to the side, pinning mat back in place. Okay. Same deal with this one. If you turn the key clockwise, there is a channel for the retaining pin to fall into, or to sit in, and so the driver pins will fall into it. Where's my follower? Here we go. There we go. Same deal. There, nothing magical going on in those key pin chambers. I'll set that to the side there. Standard key pins. Now let's take a look at the drivers. Standard in 1. A spool in 2. Spool in 3. Spool in 4. Come here, you. And a spool in 5. Again, springs are all uniform. Oh, come back here. Okay, let's see inside the Bible. Nothing really going on in there. So, let's take a close-up look at the pins here. You can see those spools. 4 spools and a standard key pins. This is the old pinning, and the newer pinning is standards throughout. So depending on, you know, if you buy one of these locks, depending on when it was made, you get a very different lock. Also, you can see the sprung core in there. See that coil spring? And there is a spring inside for the shackle. I'm not going to take that apart because it's a bit of a pain in the butt. But if you're interested, go over to lpubeltapp.com. I think it's lpubelts.com or something like that. I'll put it down in the description. And look up the 575. We have pictures there that show both of these locks. This one and that one, fully gutted. You can see all the parts in all their glory. Anyway, what are we now? About half an hour almost. The Master Lock 575, orange belt, 2 very different locks. So thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.